way, do you want a pocket-sized predator?
Well, I'm going to need an alien.
You fool!
CRANKCASE was originally a Decepticon trigger con that, I guess, tripped into a dark pit and now he's not invited to children's parties. In Dark of the Moon, CRANKCASE was part of a crazy wild team of Decepticons known as the Dreads. You might recognize them for their demonic style, or for some reason they have hair. I mean, Wreck-Gar could pull off a goatee, but there's limits. Despite stepping away from the original style, it was pretty insane looking, and the intricate design of the Bay films actually help in that respect, with these jagged edges going everywhere. CRANKCASE was the only Dread from the Dark of the Moon toy line to feature a full-size figure, but still stuck around to the newly made Cyberverse line. But how did he do? CRANKCASE in alt mode transforms into a Chevy Suburban, like the film animation model. I'm vastly impressed with the detail on this tiny figure, right down to the Chevy logo on the front. Some of the panel lines break it up a bit, but it won't take long to get the general idea. Paint is sparse, but that makes sense given the security vehicle theme. He can blend in the shadows and pounce at you at any second. Wait, where did it go? I can't find him. Someone get the lights! Oh, sorry, I misplaced them. There's paint on the sirens, just a little on the tip. Don't take that out of context. Silver and gold on the headlights, which is a surprise, and silver Decepticon logos on the side. Isn't this a predicament? Wheels roll fine for its size, and while there's no paint on the back, I do appreciate that there's no kibble hanging off the underneath of the van. CRANKCASE in alt mode is perfectly plain in the right regions, but lovably enjoyable with a little more detail work than you might think. With that, robot mode. CRANKCASE in robot mode is, probably good with kids. Damn, he has an evil presence. Or at least he did until they mushed his face in Photoshop. I don't know if they couldn't get the details right in the size, or they had to modify it, but it looks like a B-movie animated ripoff of The Predator. At least the eyes are painted in, and he does have the dreads, but they're so short that he just looks like he's got pigtails. Pippi Longstocking after a dark ritual. Did someone say articulation? Ball jointed shoulders, ball jointed hips, and hinged knee. He's not the most poseable, but he's a Legion class figure. Give him some credit. You can move the lower leg joint if you want, and yes, he does have arms molded in. I know it looks like wings, but he's not a bird. His bulbils seem to stick out pretty far, and his shoulders look weird given how the figure comes together, but I think he's got giant shoulder spikes. I think that's what it is. Either that or leftover window parts. You can open this up if you want. He doesn't have weapons, but in one hand he can hold Cyberverse accessories. I guess maybe the spikes are weapons, but you can disagree with that. It's a toy, it's whatever. I love the design of the legs, and the abdomen detail looks pretty good. I'm not sure if he needs more copper. He's certainly lacking in paint to pick out the details, but the lack of it helps his shadowy, unnatural, dark presence. CRANKCASE is a very simple figure, but he really gets the job done. He's a little rascal you can have running around causing mischief. Perfectly imperfect, but for the right reasons. Demonic in stature, but playful. If you're into the size, or you just want a terrifying critter, I'd say CRANKCASE is pretty decent, like a gremlin, or Pokemon, or Minecraft Creeper. Look out, it's Slender Man! If not, could someone put a bell on it? I'm confused. With CROWBAR, you can take one look at him and you'll know exactly who he is. Part of the group called the Dreads, this Decepticon was seen in Dark of the Moon causing wreckage and flipping cars with joy. At the time, all we got was a Cyberverse Legion class figure, but later we did eventually get a full-size version of this maniac. Well, the question is, was the Legion figure good for its time? CROWBAR transforms into a Chevy Silverado. What is this, a Dodge Charger? I'll tell you what it's not. Accurate. I guess it's the whole Rainbow Dinobot effect, where they attempt to make the figures with similar designs more different so kids and parents are reassured they're not purchasing the same toy. Although it's packaged in robot mode, so who gives a rat's monkey? Appropriate car or not, this model seems to fit the overall figure. Feels like it's built for speed, and at least it's still a security car. Paint apps are simple. You get basic silver on the front and red on the back. I appreciate that it's painted this time, but you also get paint on the side mirrors. They're both different, one side red and one side blue, which is fascinating because it is the only space speck of blue in this figure. There's even a Decepticon logo on the roof of the car. Don't know who's gonna see it though. Wheels roll fine, but the panel lining is distracting. The bottom rim of the car doesn't want to line up, but when the molding detail really comes together like the hood of the car, it really works. The bumper looks aggressive, but I see a hint of a smile and it's unnerving. Inaccuracies aside, I really think this alt mode fits the character. I don't think it will bother anyone unless you're really touchy about the details. This still fits the overall theme of the character. With that, robot mode. CROWBAR in robot mode is unsettling with the dark presence, lanky arms, tall stature, and open mouth. It's the stuff of nightmares. But maybe for kids or not. The head has a little bit of paint with the red eyes and a little bit of silver, but it can't distract you from the mouth constantly screaming. The dreads are molded in here, but with the bumper on the chest, he just looks like he's got a massive amount of bling. And you know what? He owns it. Dissimulate articulation! Ball jointed shoulders, waist rotation, ball jointed hips, rotation below, knee bend, and foot movement? There's a surprising amount of joints on this figure, and wait. Waist rotation on a Legion figure? Ooh! The legs feel superposable, although restricted by how far they go. The arms are pretty restricted too, but if you lift them up, swing the joints out, and now he's open! Throw the ball! Allow me to quickly mention something. I got this from Toys R Us during a promotion, and got a little tote bag promoting the Mission Earth exclusive toys, like the Scan series repaints I'm sure you forgot. Also got a poster which I'm not sure where it is. Damn, he's crazy long. It's like someone decided to melt him and stretch his limbs. He's even taller than the average Legion figure, so can he reach the top shelf? Sure he can. He does have some copper in him, but it's mostly in chunks. I need to highlight the torso that they only painted half of, giving him a shadowy effect. The bumper doesn't tab into place, but other than that, he's respectably solid. I'd also like to point out the hand, giving him the ability to hold smaller accessories from the line. It's also on the opposite hand, opposed to CRANKCASE, which... cool, probably. CROWBAR is pretty enjoyable in his own way. He's totally not calm and cool, but that's the point. He's a crazed maniac in a team of just that. Posability is better than some other Legion figures, and while he has a spindly, thin shape, the appearance is adorably enjoyable. Just don't let him bite.
Oh no, it's an unsupervised animal! Thank goodness I have my Italian in self-defense.
Just another one of the dreads from Dark the Moon, except he's a frickin' animal. This tough beast is ready to chew some Autobots and knock the expensive glass off the table. Because he's so massive, he's the only dread in the Cyberverse line in the Commander series, bigger than the Legion toys. It's weird though, in the film they all transform into Chevy Silverados, and while CRANKCASE continues that, Cyberverse CROWBAR decided to be a security car. I guess it still fits, but here's hoping Hatchet goes back to his roots. Hatchet transforms into a jet, and why? I mean, CROWBAR's not accurate either, but at least it fits into the realm of everything. The highlights of the dreads was the highway chase scene from vehicle to robot, getting up close to the Autobots. So how's the jet gonna fit into that? It's really not bad, and I guess with the bigger class, an oversized Chevy Silverado would look odd next to his fellow members, but why not a tanker truck or something? But aside from that, it does a fine job at collecting itself. I mean, there is kibble underneath and the hands look like they're about to grab you, but I've seen worse. Even the kibble here looks like gunners, so I can't be too hard on it. I didn't even notice that they were molded in rockets. Gold trim on the wings, silver boosters and windshield, and will you look at that, a snoot that can indeed droop. Bonus points. Also some golden Decepticon logos that's somehow easy to miss. There's landing gear on the front you can flip out, and two stationary in the back. Also you can attach these bombs that are massive and goofy. But why not? I'm sure if you remove one, it'll be more than just turbulence. You can open up the back, flip out the head, and why? Why this? You can also flip up the wings. Not sure who wants this, but there you go. It's not the alt mode I would go with in designing this, but the product doesn't do a bad job. I guess if you want to add a flying dread to the squad, this works fine, but that's not what they were. It's still solid enough, and honestly, I'm not upset about it. With that, robot mode! Hatchet in robot mode is affected by the jet kibble, and in turn, he does look different to his CGI model. However, I wouldn't mind, but the proportions seem off too. Thin arms, and maybe the head's a bit too small. Just after seeing how chunky and spiky he is in the film, there's something too clean about the toy. That face is like Pete from the Disney gang had an unfortunate incident with molten copper fusing into his face. It's unsettling and beastie, but I feel it should be bigger. Did someone say articulation? Head up and down, shoulders forward and back, ball joint, elbow bend, wrist joint, ball joint, hips, knee joint, foot joint, and tail joint. The joints are fine, especially in this class, but while the front arms have some nice detail work, the back legs did not put in any effort. I mean, you have the landing wheels sticking out on one side, and that's not good presentation. The hands have holes to hold Cyberverse weapons, but something is just a little odd. He also has ports on the wings so you can take the rockets, flip out the guns, and plug them as shoulder cannons. Not seen in the film, but a cat with rockets on its back? I didn't argue with it the first time. You could also combine them for an extended maybe shotgun, but why? There's no flow to this, and it just looks like someone glued two drones together to see what happens. And the results are probably not pretty. I think it fits in fine with the other dreads, but there's one thing missing, something of a requirement of the pack. Where's the dreads? Dun dun dun. There's a cockpit on the tail because where else would you put it? The wings don't snap in so they can move out of place. Though if you want him to flap his arms, you're weird. This figure is definitely not perfect. The alt mode is alright for a toy, but it's far set off from what Hatchet should be. The beast mode is pretty hit or miss too. There's just some things they should have rethought. But there's also a few gems in the process. It's just not exactly what I expected. The proportions are questionably inaccurate, the jet kibble is off-putting, but he's far from a bad toy. If you like what you get and can see past some of the imperfections for a desired toy, then yeah, this will do good. Just don't expect your cat videos to be trending.
Hey Hound, I heard you like humans. So much that you wish you were one. So much that you wanted to be inside one. That's right. I know what you did to Spike. You should be ashamed.
Hound loves humanity and Earth. He just has so much love to give for it, and even prefers the planet over Cybertron, who he's long become bored of. He may be a tracker, but he commonly uses his holograms to disguise himself and cause a distraction, once duplicating himself to save his human friends. Hound returns in the first wave of a new generation subline after Prime Wars called Siege War for Cybertron. No, not the old games. Quit asking. Seems like the theme will be focused on weapons, which makes Hound a perfect addition. So, how does he do? And how does Siege hold up from its start? Let's take a look at the box. Feels a little flimsy, especially on the tabs, but the artwork is wicked nice on the slanted side, presenting an epic stance on the front. Just like the Studio Series toys, the cross-branding continues with both Hasbro and Takara Tomy. The back feels out of place, looks like something from a knockoff. The text font and blue color just doesn't really work. Can we talk about the instructions? What a great start to the toy line with very clear steps showing where things tab in, and even presenting weapon titles that everyone's gonna forget. Hound in alt mode is a Cybertronian version of his original Jeep-style truck, although it looks more like a Hummer, and I know there's an argument that this is an excuse to be lazy, but allow me just to dump on that idea. I think it's just to make the toys a little different, but still recognizable, rather than doing the same thing over again down with more articulation. And even if you still think otherwise, for an open canopy truck, there's no real kibble, and if there is, it blends with the toy. What a solid little piece. Everything fits in nicely, nothing's really falling apart. The hell power of the primes! Yeah, this boxy Warhawk feels really good and fun too. Wheels roll nicely, and yes, the arms are on the bottom, and if you assume that I don't care, yeah. These black bits at the bottom are meant to be the heels, but they cleverly engineered and designed it to be step ladders without being too obvious. If you don't like the new silver marks, I'm glad to say that the ones on the legs kind of blend in or get covered up, but the front bumper actually looks decent. And more, I'd assume that the bumper's not gonna come out clean unless the bad guys are fighting with Windex. Love the black and green, transparent clear windows, and the paint with a nice copper trim with white, yellow, and red for the lights. The ammo clip can be stored on the peg, and the two guns can be added to the top. You can also plug them to the sides or two places on the back. Though if you want, I did find a way to store the two guns. Turn the hand and you can add the blaster between the arms, and there's a peg for the back on the robot mode right between the legs where you can sneak in the launcher and make it look like an exhaust. Not an electric Cybertronian alien Jeep, just making a guess. It's even got the Autobot logo and the start he got in 3rd grade. Why does he have that? Well, the little truck mode is already a win. Plump and juicy, just the way I like any alien Jeep. But how did they do with the robot mode? Hound is one square, bulky, military-esque scout, fit for the task at hand, built tough and ready to take action. On Spike. Hound's form is solid, but the feel of the toy is something else. From the backpack, which the tab doesn't really hold, so as soon as you push in the center, it might pop out of place. Aside from that, this is a sturdy toy, much better quality than a good chunk of the Power of the Primes toys. All the joints feel right. Not too loose to flop around, but not too tight to break apart. Take notes, Studio Series Bumblebee. And the plastic material also feels good. These black pieces feel like they're made of a softer plastic, but it's used to an advantage. The head sculpt is unmistakably nostalgic. He retains a classic boxy helmet, but the line work and molding on the face is impressive. The eyes are painted, but they're clean on my version. And there's even a beard on the beard. How? Did someone say articulation? Ball jointed head, shoulders out and in, forward to back, rotation below, elbow bend, wrist rotates, hips out and in, forward to back, rotation below, knee joint, and amazing foot tilt. Oh, and also, woo! They did not skip out on articulation. Joints all around with a good looking figure makes a messy in my pantaloons. Though, just from its development, the feet are never really straight, and they do lock out of place, but it's nothing too bad. The paint job is really good. You get all these lights painted in, more copper trim, and now silver and blue for the face with the new Siege battle damage marks. Something the Siege line seems to continue to most toys in the main line is these scratched paint applications that are either brushed or stamped on. Some of it can be fine, but in here it's a mix. The chest does a great job with the bumper. You can even say that the black is actually the paint getting scratched off if you prefer, but the silver on the legs isn't good. Feels slapped on and only retains to the larger piece, leaving some of the leg left out. Let's take a look at the accessories, part of the new combat system, which is short for mech tech, but not absolute crap. You can port weapons from the line all over the place. 2 in each arm, 2 in the shoulders, 1 in the back, 1 in each hand, 2 in each leg, and 1 in each foot. So if you want shoe guns, I don't know you. You could also take the Combiner Wars or Power of the Prime's feet if you want. Why you want? The Battlemasters also come with flares, which you can port all around the toy to add a battle effect of getting shot. Or maybe Hound is a weapon. Hound includes what is described as an RT-10 IR electroscope launcher, which is based on his shoulder cannon. You can plug it wherever. I mean, it's not bad as an arm cannon, but we all know that it has a spot right on the shoulder. Also helps keep the backpack in place. He also comes with a W5 hollow beam refraction blaster, which is a simple weapon itself, but with the added ammo clip, you can tap it to the side and give it a little more oomph. All 3 pieces can combine to form an HD Vector Beam Mega Blaster, blaster, and suddenly I'm getting Gundam vibes. It's cool in itself, but Hound should have a shoulder cannon, right? Paint job is great as mentioned, but I have to point out those traced out stars on his arms. Oh, so good. I also love how they threw the wheels on both sides of the legs. It makes it feel kibble-free and just juices him up a little. So Siege Hound is my introduction to the line. So what do I think of it? Well, I can't avoid talking about the price. Generation seems to have caught up with Studio Series, and it's just not the same. However, the quality and articulation has been amped up. It feels like they didn't slack off and worthy of that price, especially since a lot of the Prime Wars figures was getting weaker over time. Hell, he feels more sturdy than toys early generations. If you love Hound or just want one for your collection, this is a remarkable piece of engineering that really strives for a great value. I'd say get Hound as soon as you can. Also, he's good shoe shopping.
It's Optimus Prime! Hey, can you stop Megatron from pissing in my sink? Okay, cool.
The leader of Team Prime in the series Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime, gets a toy in the Robots in Disguise sub-theme, not the later Robots in Disguise line or earlier Robots in Disguise line. This toy is a Voyager class figure, which is also called Powerizers, and now I've strained my brain and can't count milk. This version of the character had a few toys beforehand in the first edition sub-theme, but this is the one that would make it to mass release. It's also a little strange. I remember seeing this figure in every store, but now in the aftermarket, it's tricky to get a handle on. So I want to thank TFA 1024 for sending out this figure. I never did purchase it during its release, but it means a lot to have it now. I will say I will try to not make a strong comparison to the seemingly superior first edition Voyager, as I don't have that figure. In this, we'll mostly focus on the figure on its own. With that, is the toy any good? In alt mode, Optimus Prime transforms into a semi-rig based on his animation model. I can't pinpoint it, but there's something off about it. The red feels maybe a bit too pale, but I'm not sure if that's the issue. From what I've seen on the show, Optimus seems to have colors darker to this, probably to go with the emo phase of the show. Could be the dull gray plastic, which he has two different tones of, but if I have to guess, I don't think the transparent blue windows was a great idea, and he's missing the blue paint that travels at the bottom of the cab. Still, the molding seems fine, seemingly based on his movie aesthetic relevant at the time. Love the square shape, makes him feel clean, tough, American! Panel lines abound. These side panels have a little wiggle room, but it should stand just fine if you have everything right. Turn to the back and you'll find literal putrid robot vomit. There's 3 ports on the back so you can store the weapons and that's not a good look, but it does keep everything together. You can add it to the center peg, but it doesn't keep it secure. There's enough ports for both weapons. You can also combine them so it's just one chunk of metal machinery chaos. Oddbot logo on the front so when he runs you over it leaves an imprint. Sorry Batman, someone beat you to it. Wheels roll nicely and he attack? He smokestack. If you think it's boring, open up the side panels and Flying Truck Boss has approached the battlefield! While I question the color choice, what's given isn't inherently bad, it's just lacking in indulging flair. But it does the job as an Optimus Prime semi-rig. So what more can I ask for? Robot mode. In robot mode, Optimus Prime's molten shape is pretty satisfying enough. Not as burly as I'd hoped, but for a simpler figure, they didn't do half bad. The chest even opens up to create a more rounded presence. However, imperfections and lackluster aplenty. The duller gray colors and the transparent blue forearms makes the deco muted. The figure doesn't really pop, and for an Optimus Prime toy, that's not a good thing. I know I don't want to make too much of a comparison, but the first edition just yelled, "Extreme Patriotism!" This one says, patriotism, I guess. The head's got the right shape, but because it feels more slick, it comes across as a younger version of himself, rather than the stoic and wise Prime we've come to know. But at least he's got a skyscraper on his forehead. Did someone say, articulation? Ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, rotation below elbow bend, ball jointed hips, rotation below knee bend, tilt, and ball jointed feet. Now I got this second hand, so I'm not sure if the quality has died down, but the joints in the hips are way too loose and frustrating. Thank God for the joints in the feet, but if those are loose, you're screwed. Oh no, a messed Optimus fell down. As well, yes, these back panels are huge, but I wouldn't mind if they tapped into place. One slip and something doesn't seem right here. I do have to admit, he does look good next to his crew. Who are these people? Let's take a look at the weapons. Whoa, the Star Saber! What a piece of shit! I mean, the details are on the nose, but its small size and dull color makes it look like a foam roleplay toy. You can flip up the hand and plug it like his arm blades, but that's insensitive. He also comes with the blue and gray paperweight that can flip out, revealing a blaster on an extended paperweight that doesn't lock in. You can plug it into the hand, but it doesn't really stay in place. You can plug it into the forearm, and when you deploy the mechanic, a red light will transfer through the arm and into the barrel, but it's a sad attempt and it doesn't really work. You could also plug it into the shoulder, but meh. See, I would have been fine with the coloring, even the transparent blue arms, but he really needs more red. The abundant lack of it opposed to the gray in the body just sets a dull, lifeless husk of the man he once was. With all the issues set for Optimus Prime, the toy is really not that bad, just not up to its potential. I think it's basic enough to satisfy the gap in your collection if you can't manage to get the first edition. However, this toy seems to have fallen off the face of the earth, and it's pretty hard to find, at least from my experience. At least it looks more like its animation representative over the Beast Hunters figure. What was this trying to accomplish? And hey, I believe the first edition was too tall to compare with the Megatron release, so this is much closer to the correct size. So he's a bit of a fixer-upper, but if you give him some love and support, I'm sure you'll find something to enjoy. And while I have your attention, I'd like to dismiss the stereotype that primes don't party. This is false. Primes do indeed party, but it usually results in pregnancy.